Even on the second episode of season 3, we already have things changed.
Already getting better.
It gets better every time.
Can they even hear me?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
I have no headphone in.
You don't, and you're not there. I have a question for you.
What's up, man?
Who framed Roger Rabbit?
I think it was Christopher Lloyd, right?
Was it Christopher Lloyd?
I can't remember.
That son of a bitch.
Dude, I honestly, that's one of those movies that I do always forget the ending. And I really don't. I remember.
To be fair, I forget all of it in between too.
Really?
Most of it.
That's not one of those classics that you love.
It's not a classic that I love. I didn't even love it when I saw it the first time.
I watched, and I am not exaggerating, Jeff. I watched 4 minutes and 45 seconds of Citizen Kane, and I shut it off.
You're like, how is this thing a classic?
I was like, what the fuck? Nobody's talking.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? It's just a bunch of pictures of a fucking castle.
Yeah.
It's just like this. And it wasn't even, like, necessarily credits. It was just kind of, after a while, it felt like, once I saw the runtime,
yeah,
I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
There's no way.
You made a purposeful decision to save yourself time, and you gifted yourself that time.
I gave up. I gave up so quick.
Oh, you can look at it as quitting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do, and I have absolutely no hesitation with saying that. I don't have remorse for shutting it off. It's one of those. I watched all of The Birds.
That's because it's a great movie.
Yeah. It's okay.
I just watched it not too long ago, and I was like, it's still a great movie.
It does, I will say, I don't know, like, obviously the effects and everything like that are a little weird.
Yeah.
But it's what, 1902?
I mean, but what's weirder than that scene than, like, all the kids are playing together in a lawn? Like, I mean, it was fucking weird.
The kid gets her eyes poked out or something like that.
No. There was a dude that was in a closet that got his eyes poked out.
There was so many things where I feel like there could have been a really weird maniacal serial killer going through that same town and just being like, they're blaming it on the birds?
Yeah, he's getting away with all this. So yeah, welcome to the 6 a.m. True Crime Podcast,
the movie review podcast.
We're in episode 2 of season 3, and boy, we are ones for consistency, are we not?
I think so.
I mean, 2 episodes in a row,
same day, both weeks.
It's incredible.
Almost around the same time.
Around the same time. I fucked it up a little bit by having to take a Zoom call.
Yeah, but I feel like they're going to be like, after the first episode, they're going to be like so relieved that we're back. They're not going to realize the little cracks in the foundation.
Yeah.
But no, we've already repaired those. And now we have a cool new sinkhole that we're
and we're bringing you all along with us.
Just think of it like a cool swimming pool with a really, 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 really deep end.
Yeah, it's like really deep. Yeah. Did you ever see any of those like videos of like sinkholes falling into like pools and people like getting sucked into them?
Jeff, it's
terrible.
It is one of my top 2 fear. Number 1, grasshoppers. Number 2, sinkholes.
Sinkholes.
Yeah.
You are I think we've talked about this before. You're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Because Harrisburg is notorious for sinkholes.
No.
Yes.
Oh, dude. I just saw a commercial for, there was a lady talking about, it's for a foundation company or something like that.
Okay.
And they're like saying like, oh yeah, cracks in the wall and the door stick and window stick. Those are signs that water is moving your foundation. And I was just like, all of that happens. I gotta move.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna try to move as quickly as possible because I am terrified now.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to live a little bit with a little bit of fear.
If we stay on the 3rd floor, maybe we'll just be at the top of it and we can still crawl out.
Right. Versus it all collapsing in on you.
Yeah. It's a hellish thought.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's a great way to start this episode.
Welcome,
welcome everybody.
Welcome to Hellish Thoughts with Pat and Jeff.
Speaking of hellish thoughts, how was your week this week?
It was actually pretty busy. It was
good.
Relatively busy, getting ready for the holiday coming up.
We have the 4th of July holiday in which we celebrate
America. Somebody did ask that today.
Really?
I think they were serious.
They were legitimately like, "What is 4th of July for?"
It was one of our younger 6 a.m.ers.
Okay.
I'm not gonna out him here, but he did go, "What is the 4th of July about?" And I was like, "Really?" Or he's like, "What is this holiday for?" And I was like, "Dude, it's the holiday."
Well, how about like it's actually for you, my friend. That holiday is about staying in school.
Yeah. You ever heard of America?
Jeez.
But yeah, I was like, I said that's the one that I feel like I even I know.
Yeah.
Arbor Day. I think it's something with like arms.
Yeah.
No, trees.
Trees. The arms of trees.
The arms of trees, which are branches, and we are here to branch out and to bring jiu-jitsu to the world.
Well done.
I brought it back to the show.
Well done. Yeah.
Reining it
yeah.
in.
We got the 4th of July holiday coming up, and we're celebrating our independence.
Rolling on the holiday.
Yeah.
That was a big concern of Muskin and I, because he's finally off on the holiday because he's been missing.
Okay.
We picked up a new client at the biz.
As like we like to call it, the biz.
The pet cremation biz. We picked up a new vet, and they wanted early morning pickups on Tuesdays.
Right.
And so he's been missing out on no-gi guard passing day for months now.
Right.
Months and months. So
right.
He was very excited, and I was like, well, do you think Jeff... Because every once in a while, you're crazy enough to be like, you know what? I don't want to fucking... If it's a holiday... If the banks are going to be closed, Jeff may not come in and do jiu-jitsu.
When?
I feel like there was a New Year's...
Nope. It's only Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the only holiday that I do not have class.
Right.
And Christmas Day, obviously. But
the reason I said New Year's was because I remember it is because of drinking.
Yeah, I was, yes. I was slightly inebriated one New Year's Day.
Well, no, I recall. No, I'm saying the Thanksgiving because specifically the night before you like to. That's a tradition. That
I start drinking first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and I feel like you used to drink a lot on the show.
I don't drink anymore.
You don't drink at all?
No, on occasion, but not very often.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I cut that shit out.
I'm trying to do that with caffeine.
Oh, yeah, my wife did that actually recently.
Really?
Yeah, she cut out caffeine, and it was a struggle for the first week, and now I can see you're sipping tea. Mm-hmm. Okay, she does drink tea. Mm-hmm. All right,
herbal tea even.
And she does drink herbal tea. She does not drink coffee, and she doesn't have any other outside like caffeine.
Clean living in the Beck house.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, it's been working out pretty good. So I was inspired by one of our other students who cut out drinking completely from his life.
Oh, Luke.
Luke. And and for our listeners, they all know who we're talking about. We're talking about Luke Weaver. Yeah. The guy's a monster. I mean, if there's like a physical representation of the Incredible Hulk, it would be
Luke. If they reboot it, I'm like saying, dude, go out to Hollywood.
Yeah,
go.
He's got it made. He doesn't even have to like say anything. His screen test will be enough. Just his picture. Just do this. Yeah. So anyway, he cut out drinking completely, and I was impressed with it, and really, like, he loved beer. Like, it wasn't because he had like a bad relationship with it or he was alcohol dependent or anything of that nature.
No.
And he wanted to lose weight, and he was always been like a massively big dude, like just in terms of his strength and physicality, but he was like, I want to look and feel a certain way, and alcohol is not helping me at all.
Yeah.
And so he cut it out. And I was like, dude, this is, his transformation has been incredible.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, much like the Hulk.
Yeah, and it's really like dedication and to that. But then it got me thinking about this. And also, I don't know if you feel this way, but I'm like, at my age, we're getting into this territory now where like we're having like friends of friends, like family friends and so on and so forth, that people are really like struggling with like their drinking habits.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to be that guy. I was drinking a lot of beer, like casually drinking a lot of beer.
Yeah.
For what reason?
Yeah.
So I was just like, just cut that shit out. I'll have a couple beers during the weekend. Sometimes I don't drink at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but during the week, I try and like not drink.
When it becomes habitual, when it becomes that.
Well, that's what it was for me.
Yeah.
I was just habitually drinking beer.
Yeah, when it's like I
could drink water, but I wasn't.
Well, I think there's a thing about that, like where I was kind of doing the same thing with soda. I know it's not the same.
No, but still.
But it kind of.
It is, and it doesn't have any benefit to you.
For what I'm trying to do, it's the same idea of like, if I want to live healthier, not necessarily focus on my weight, but my health, like try to look good, look in the mirror. Good. And I think that's the same way that like Luke was trying to. He wants to be comfortable with the way he looks and the way he feels. So
sure,
I with me, it like a lot of times, even with weed, was kind of a thing where like it was becoming like with like the vapes or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Very much like, oh, it's just around, boom, boom, you know, like
Right.
wake up, boom, like, and it's kind of the same idea. Where it's,
Sure.
We're going to talk about it a little bit later. Like that's our topic today. Things that we're not great at.
Things that we're not great at is today's topic.
It's one of those things that like impulse control is a thing that.
Sure.
In general. So whether it be sugar, if sugar's in the house, it's gone.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm the master of destroying those things.
Right.
So I'm
right.
I'm the master of pre-diabetes. Right here, dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, you know, my story is, and I promise we'll get to our main topic today, but what had happened is I actually picked up a staph infection from rolling. It happens, kids. Mm-hmm. Not a big deal, but I couldn't get rid of it, and so I went to the doctor, and they were like, no big deal, staph infection. Here's some, you know, topical antibiotic, and off you go.
Yeah.
And it was perfectly fine. But what I did find out is when I got in there, they're like, your blood pressure is really high.
Yeah.
Like they were like, are you sure you're okay? Type of high. And I'm like, I
you
feel
sit
fine.
down?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, weird. Like, I hadn't thought about it, but I mean, here I am in my mid 40s,
yeah.
and like I, you know, exercise regularly, obviously, and so forth. And I'm like, and I'm not I wouldn't say that I'm the healthiest eater, but I'm certainly not like, I wasn't terrible.
Yeah, you're not doing like super duper fast food all the time.
Yeah. I mean, but really though, like our diets consist of a lot of like processed foods and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But one of the main contributors to that is going to be alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
So while I'm not getting hammered every night, like the fact that you're drinking 2 or 3 or even 4 beers, just casually drinking them, like that's sending your blood pressure through the roof.
Yeah.
Like. And so I was like, okay. And so Luke's was inspiration. Not dying was an inspiration. And yeah. And so here we are. And my blood pressure, by the way, through diet and cutting out enormous amounts of alcohol, like my blood pressure is in pretty good shape.
Hey,
so
wow,
yeah, I was
awesome.
able to do it without medication.
That's my goal. Like my goal, unfortunately, also with my mental health is also to be like, I want to avoid medication at all costs.
Right.
So maybe that might be at my detriment. We'll find out one day if I end up on the news. You read about me in the news, you know.
Right.
Yep. Sorry. Should have gone on the pills.
Yeah, should have gone on the pills.
I think that's awesome, man. And so also we had some people commenting on a post that I had about the Ask a Black Belt thing. And I had somebody reach out personally when another person that has started training with us since we have been on our hiatus for a year.
Yeah.
That asked, what is the 6 a.m. podcast?
Oh, what is the 6 a.m. podcast?
So I'm happy to see that not only do we have the update for the people that are joining us back, but also the new people. Go check out the old episodes. Check out Drunk Jeff.
Yeah, right. And also, it does beg the question, what is the 6 a.m. podcast? Beats me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We don't know yet.
We asked me, and I was just like, here's a link.
It's the best way to handle
subscribe.
that. Yeah, subscribe and
Find
listen
out.
to it. Yeah.
But, Jeff, what are we here today to talk about? You're good at controlling your blood pressure.
Apparently.
Just through sheer will.
Yes, will.
Which is amazing. When you can outwill Big Pharma.
When you can, and stop death at the same time.
Yeah,
premature death.
Yeah, and still keep eating the way you want.
Right.
I know that's an important thing to me, to Musk and another fellow 6 a.m.er.
Right.
Is to just keep eating. Hey, I'm on the lower end. Poosh. See ya.
Done.
Don't have to do medication yet.
Right.
And I'm alive. I'm out.
What else is there?
Thanks, Doc. Yeah.
Today's episode is about all the things that we're terrible at.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea. One of my favorite things is I had this, and I think I've brought it up in previous podcasts. Is I had this. There's a designer that I really love by the name of Paul Sayre. Because for our listeners that don't know, like for my day job, what I do for a living is I'm a graphic designer. And have been for 26
hell of
years.
A one.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I will say.
You actually got to sit in on a meeting here recently.
Yeah,
this morning.
Man, these guys were Jeff's ego, man.
It's terrible.
He's a black belt in pretty much everything, guys. Just in case you were wondering, the reason we had that segment later on is because he's literally not even a jack of all trades, master of none. You're a master of all trades, you jack none.
Right. Actually, in fact, the person I was talking to on the Zoom call said that they would not stroke me any further.
Yeah, he did. Jeff, it was all I could. I was sitting right here. It was all I could do not to go like. It's like, what is this fucking guy talking about?
Right.
Does he have a shirt on?
So, but the reality is that, oh, I know, I was talking about Paul Sayre, but he had a website for a long time. He put up his work, but he had a section on his website that was all the shit that failed. Okay. And I loved it. I loved it because it put him in a category that was like, hey, he's a human being. Like he's screwed things up too, just like me, right?
Right.
I mean, I screw things up. Maybe this is like the I screw everything up episode, because I screw up things all the time, guys. And in particular, like jiu-jitsu. And one of the mysteries, especially when you get to like brown and black belt level jiu-jitsu, is the assumption that they're good at everything in jiu-jitsu. And guess what? We're not.
Yeah.
We're not.
Okay.
Not good at everything.
Okay.
Jiu-jitsu has this like way of really fucking with your ego.
Yeah.
Because the idea is that like you're not to have any ego, but we know although that's not true. Like we all have an ego, and we all have an expectation of like how we're to perform each day. But for those of you that train a lot, like it's really hard to maintain A-game status training every day. You're going to get got. You're going to run into situations and techniques that you don't know how to address or how to deal with. And from a teaching perspective, like you'll get questions that you don't know how to answer.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's an important... usually if it falls into a realm like where I'm like... I'm just not good at this position at all.
In your case, Jeff, I don't think you should beat yourself too much up, because I ask a lot of dumb questions. And you got pissed off at me the other day because I saved them, because I saved the dumb ones for after we're drilling, because I don't want anybody to hear it, because they're going to think I'm joking.
Speaking of being bad at things, listen,
asking questions.
When your professor says, "Are there any questions?" what he means are there any questions?
This is the time for
questions.
It's not that you're not necessarily going to joke about it or something like that, but it's like, ask it, because if that's the way you're thinking, if you think of that, that's probably the way you're going to react.
Correct.
So
and maybe somebody else is thinking the same thing, or maybe they hadn't thought of that, and that's an important.
Yeah.
From the perspective of like if you're an instructor and if you're a black belt instructor, the assumption is that you're good at every position, or you have like an answer for everything. And it's true to say that like I probably have an answer for you because I'm familiar with where you're going with this, but it doesn't mean I have a proficiency in it.
Yeah.
Or that I use it.
Yeah.
Even if I'm teaching it, like there's things that I teach that I'm like, I understand how the mechanics of this work, and I can teach you how to do X, Y, and Z, but you'll never see me do it.
Yeah.
Not in a live role.
I gotta say, one thing that I'm definitely really bad at, one specific thing.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Backstepping.
Backstepping. A great example.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a thing where I feel like I cannot, like, it's somewhere where like I don't know how to balance, or every time I do that I end up like just falling back. And it's like I have very, and if you've ever been my partner, I'm sorry. I have very terrible balance. I have awful balance.
Well, I was just going to ask about that, because we're going to get into that. Yeah. Right, exactly.
So it's not necessarily that I'm just bad at backstepping. That is something that particularly keeps me, but I'm bad at balance.
Yeah.
I'm bad at balancing my body without falling down and making some... And also, just a piggyback, if I may.
Yeah.
Break falling. I'm still really bad at it. I know how to do it. I've been shown by fucking judo masters, black belts, by everybody that's seen me break fall. I've been shown by them as well.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, it's
still
a timing.
Hit the ground.
It's a timing issue.
Yeah. So your lower back still hits the ground first, and then the rest of you just...
Hey, but I get a little pushing for the cushion.
Yeah, you try and slap the mat and sound like you broke fall, but you did a break fall correctly, but you didn't.
I can do it every once in a while if like you're walking by and like Muskin's trying something, or my partner or whatever, I try a big one.
Yeah.
But I still feel like my ass hits just before that. So balance and break falling are definitely two things I'm terrible at.
So that's a great introduction to it, because balance, of course, is I think it's an important attribute, but it's not the end of the world. Like you're still effective in your jiu-jitsu in the way that things that you want to do. And it's not that you don't have balance. You do have balance, but you recognize that it could be a lot better. And with that means like all those other things like backstepping and like float passing and like all these things that require a sincere amount of balance. that door will be open to you, right? But there's also a chance that you'll never be good at it.
Yeah. Jeff, it's been a couple years.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
And I was actually just explaining to somebody, this has nothing to do with balance necessarily, but being like improving at things.
Right.
And it used to be like the mats at the first gym in Lemoyne.
Yeah.
That I started at was I would my toes would get caught in the mat anytime I tried to baseball slide.
Right.
And that's core, that's that's strength kind of thing. So, but now like my toes are safe, but backstepping exactly the same.
Right.
Still one of those like
not quite sure. Yeah, where you put your you're like, I'm just going over.
Yeah, the hook goes in there. Like if I am trying to backstep on you, you will succeed in sweeping me or reversing me or doing whatever.
Yeah.
So those are two things that I feel, but I am very good from my back. So
yeah. So there you go.
My weaknesses lead to my strengths.
I'll tell you one of the things that, like, up until brown belt, one of the things that my technique was abysmal, was passing guard, just in general. Yeah, I've gotten a lot better about passing guard. But it's funny because like up until that point, like a lot of my game focused on guard and guard retention. And so putting you in that position meant that like each position in the hierarchy of guard meant like the further I got, the less likely you are to get out.
Yeah.
Right? Or get out without getting tapped or swept. And I spent so much time there, and it became a comfortable thing for me that like I never thought about like having to be on my feet or having to like pass the guard. I'm going to go to the guard.
Right.
And until I met some people who were also very good at the guard, and they had different ideas about like how this was going to go down. And then it became obvious to me that, number one, I wasn't the only one with a good guard, and number two, like I don't know how to pass this thing. Like and at a high level, I didn't know how to pass the guard, but I didn't know how to pass the guard very well. I mean, I understood the techniques much the same way that you understand the techniques of, balance and understand backstepping or break falling.
Yeah.
You know the techniques, you've been taught how to do them, but
it's in there.
You're just not good at it. Yep. And I wasn't good at guard passing.
Yeah.
And so like at brown belt, like I really had to like focus in on like how do I pass the guard? Like,
so that was something.
What are the mechanics of it? Like what is the situation?
That was something you were bad at.
It was.
What is something you are currently bad at? This is vulnerability.
Yeah. Right? What am I bad at now? Oh, there's so many things. I would say like the first one that comes to mind is turtle position. Mm-hmm. I don't like it. I don't want to do it.
I've been saying it for years.
And it is rare if ever that I go to it. But I was talking to Pat before the podcast. Just this week, I ended up going to turtle on purpose, and I was like, "Shit, turtle works."
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, if you're like, okay, I'm in bottom turtle position, and you're on top of me, like, I'm not going to start. I don't have a decision tree from there.
Yes. Oh, yes. I wrote that down, actually. When you were talking about decision tree, I was like, I wanted to bring that up with you again. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not my, like, and if you're going to take a private lesson with me and you're like, hey, I want to work on turtle, I'm like, you're going to need somebody else.
Yeah. That's a position I love. That's a position that
Yeah.
So when you say something like that, Jeff, I'll show you a thing or two. I mean, but I've come to you with questions about turtle.
Yeah.
And you're able, I feel like it's a thing not unlike my balance issue or my break falling issue where you know things about turtle and you're just it's not a position you have personal experience with.
Yeah, it's just not one that like I said before, it's not one that I have a decision tree from. So like if I'm able to retain guard from turtle because I have one move and I did that move and I won, then great. But if you stop that, because for instance on the reverse of that is that I love attacking turtle.
Right, I was going to say you've been more the master shredder, not necessarily the ninja turtle.
Right. And so if you're good at that, and again, it's the same scenario as like from a guard passing perspective. As soon as I ran into like people that were like, who were like, you know what, like I'm not going to let you play guard because I'm sick of it. I'm going to play guard. And I'm like, oh shit, they're actually really good at guard.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, what do I do with that?
Right.
Except for like, I'll tell you what I did is I just got swept. I got swept and I fall over. Like, and I'm like, okay, now I'm on my back and I'll be able to play from guard. But I remember we have a and I won't call him out by name, but we have a very specific black belt in our gym who looked me dead in the eye one day and said, why did you let me do that? Like what was your thinking? And it made me feel like I was like, it really actually made me question. Because I was like, well, because I can play off my back. But they're like, you just gave up a sweep. You gave up the points. You potentially give up the position.
Oh yeah.
And believe me, he could do it.
Whoever
if he wanted
that is
to.
would hate to see me roll.
Yeah, right. Well,
man.
He could have swept me and passed my guard, and then I would have been, obviously stuck in bottom side control or whatever position that he had deemed necessary at the time. But the whole point was like, there's no reason for you to do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, just keep fighting.
Yeah.
If you know you have that option, you have that option. So like, and that's the thing that I've been trying to do is also not necessarily. So my thing is another great thing that I'm terrible at, takedowns.
Like, terrible takedowns.
I'm very bad at takedowns, but
lots of people are though.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned is the fact that like also don't just concede. Make them take you down.
Yes.
And the more you make them take you down, the more you're going to get them to react. And it actually, so that's the point. When you drill takedowns, we're just being nice to each other. We're going for it. Comp class taught me a lot about like if you could spend 3 minutes on your feet. You can just being like, get your fucking hand off me, pussy. Right, like you know what I mean? Like that's thing where eventually maybe you do something, but you also feel like they're frustrated. They just kind of dove in at you, pull guard.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't clean. Like it's one of those things where like you don't have to concede right away as soon as they start pushing into you.
Right.
Push back, resist, break their grip.
Right.
Fake them out, like do stuff like that. There's a thing where the more you act, the more you're going to get them to react.
Right.
So, and the more you resist, the harder it is. Make it harder to take down. So I feel like again, that's another thing that it's a weakness that can lead to a strength that you don't even know, where you're going to frustrate the hell out of them.
Right.
And then you're going to end up with a Russian tie or something like that.
Possibly.
Is that this one, right?
Yep. Underneath the arm. Yep.
I've learned so much about takedown.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, really, the fact that we start, I love the fact that we start class with takedowns every day.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you teach the mechanics of it. And I'm asking, I definitely ask questions for those.
You do.
But a lot of times it's just like, I don't know. It's one of those things that
you don't have confidence in it.
Yeah. And eventually I'm sure a flip will switch, or switch will flip. Reverse that. Speaking of flips, but yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, that kind of like leads us into like what, why these things occur, and that is one of the things, is that there's so much for you guys to do in jiu-jitsu in terms of like where your proficiencies lie. And because we often talk about this, like you start your journey in jiu-jitsu, you get mauled, and then you learn how to defend yourself, and then you start picking at things that you really like that come as part of your game. And I put that in quotes. It's your game. It's the thing that you rely on. It's where you feel most comfortable. But really, when you think about it, jiu-jitsu is about being uncomfortable or being comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
And so, for you to progress in jiu-jitsu means that you have to continuously put yourself in uncomfortable positions. Like, for another instance, something else I'm terrible at, by the way, is deep half guard. Oh. If I want you to smash me and pass and submit me, I will put myself in deep half, because I'm like, once I get there, I'm like, all right, I know what I'm supposed to do, but like really? I can't. Yeah, because I just don't have like half guard in general. Yeah. Like love half guard.
Yeah.
Deep half guard though, I've just sunk myself.
Wow.
Yeah. I've just sunk myself. I've put myself in a situation that is like, and what should I do, kids? Anybody out there? I should put myself in deep half guard.
I wonder if that's like you said, the ego thing. Like involuntary ego, like that's
it is. It definitely drives like where you're like, because just like with your takedowns, because that's why you brought up a really good point, is that you understand the technique, you've proven to yourself that you can do it, just even against like a semi-resisting opponent, right. But you can see that the mechanics work, that right. Your body works and you can do that thing, but when it comes time to do the thing, you're like, nah.
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm not gonna commit to this, because you are convinced that you can't do it, and so you don't do it.
Right.
And then at some point we get to the juncture of like purple belt, when you get your purple belt, and then you're like, you know what? I don't even need that.
Is that when the cement starts drying?
Yeah, that's when you start. That's right. That's when you start spending more time solidifying or justifying your position versus saying, you know what? Now's the perfect time for me to start doing these. So you don't end up like me at a brown belt level and just not having a great guard passing game. Like you should have a decent guard passing. Even if it's just 3 techniques, like you should be really good at that stuff at brown belt. But at any rate, yeah, it is the ego. It is the ego that tells you, like, when you get there, you're like, meh.
Yeah. I guess in that case, who would you feel comfortable rolling with to get in that position to work on that?
Oh, everybody. Like, you should get, guys. And this is
you
like
personally.
Oh, me personally.
Yeah.
I would find here, and this is solid advice from a black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You find the best people at that position and you go for it.
Right.
Because they are going to teach you things like immediately. Like just their response to you going to, let's say for me, I'd go to deep half with somebody that like, if I went to deep half with Brogan, right? Because he's an expert in deep half guard. Like, he just is.
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, if I go to deep half on that, he'll know right away whether or not I know what I'm doing. Like, he can tell because he's really good at deep half guard.
Right.
And it gives him an understanding even from the top position. If somebody's putting him in deep half guard, he knows right away whether you know what you're doing.
And he knows your jiu-jitsu. He knows you personally.
He does know me personally. But, I would sit myself in David's deep half guard as much as I possibly... I would go to deep half guard, not his deep half guard.
Yeah.
I would put myself... But I would reverse that too if you're looking to like pass it or solve its problem, because their reaction is so natural.
Yeah.
And they don't have to think about it, that you get a view at like where you're aspiring to be. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you take that experience and you work your way down to somebody that's just trying to figure this out.
Okay.
Right. And that's when you start practicing and you keep checking in, you keep going back. And I keep putting myself in deep half with Brogan. And then we'll see what's working, what's not.
Yeah.
Go back to the lab and start building yourself back up again. This is how you build proficiencies in these things. But you cannot be afraid.
Right.
You're going to get smashed.
One of the things I've explained to you before that I find I love and I feel is one of the greatest compliments in jiu-jitsu is when I hear somebody that I've rolled with talk to you after class about something I did.
Yeah.
And that's a thing where when I get in that position and somebody goes, it's like, but I still want to do things that I'm not good at in that position.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But therein lies the problem, is that like when you do the things that you're really good at and people compliment you or they sigh or you've got them, like that is a direct feedback loop that tells you you're awesome.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you want to keep doing it then, right? I mean, it's reinforcing that like what you're doing is good.
How cool is it when somebody goes, "Oh, don't do that thing you always do," and they know you're going to do it. You know you want to do it, and then you can do it.
Yeah.
But it's also like, if it is that easy, then I kind of feel like once you get to that point, I go like, oh, maybe this is the performer in me. Maybe this is the comedian in me.
Maybe it is.
It's the kind of thing of like, maybe my lockdown's hack.
Yeah.
Maybe I should move on to turtle. And then when people are like, oh, fucking turtle again, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. I should try something new. Right. And I do something else. Like, so, but I feel like that is the most, that's the loveliest part. That's the art part of it. It's the thing where you can express yourself in any way.
This is but this is why like being a white belt's the best, because
but that's the feedback. You're right.
Yeah, being the white belt's the best because you suck at everything.
Yeah,
like you just don't know. Like you've not been taught this and you've not practiced it, and so like you are free to just go experience it as somebody that's just. I just want to see it. Like show me how this works, And it's a great place to be. And the ego really doesn't start like surfacing until you get like your third and fourth stripe in your white belt, and then you're getting ready for your blue belt, and then you're with a bunch of blue belts, and not all blue belts are made the same because there's a big difference between a 4-stripe blue belt and a 1-stripe or a no-stripe blue belt.
Yeah.
And like then you're both blue belts, so you're like, shouldn't I be able to?
Yeah, you start
hang with them, and you can.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying you can't.
I feel like a lot of times if I do a thing that they're like, oh, that was cool or something, if they're complimentary, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'll show you. I'm going to try to show you how.
Of course.
At least I just did that.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then also I always advise them to talk to you about whatever. Wouldn't that be funny if like everybody I roll with, I just said that thing about, oh yeah, I love it when people talk to you after we roll, and I'm telling everybody I roll with, go talk to Jeff. But I'm just really like, oh yeah, Pat was showing me this armbar. It was really cool. Is that right?
Yeah. And I'm like,
and Jeff is like, no, that fucking idiot.
Yeah, don't do that at all.
That's not even your arm.
I got to. I mean, I think if you are a white belt and you're listening to this podcast and you're like just getting into jiu-jitsu, so maybe you're in for a year or two or whatever, is try and retain that sense of wonder as you move through the ranks. Because I mean, the same thing happened to me. I was a victim of my own success. So people would tell me that my guard was really good, or I was really difficult to pass, or I was really dangerous from the guard, and that fed this idea that I'm a guard player.
Yeah.
No, and we have that in jiu-jitsu, right? You're a guard player or you're a guard passer, right? And that's bullshit. You should be both a guard passer and a guard player. The guard is what makes jiu-jitsu unique among all the grappling arts. So you should have a guard, okay? And if you don't have a guard, that's okay. You work on getting a guard.
Right.
But you're going to have things that you're more proficient in and you'll gravitate towards, but don't fall for it. Yeah. Don't fall for it on the long term. You'll be fine if you just work in this position forever and be really good at it. You can still do those things, but you're limiting your ability to understand and learn jiu-jitsu. You want to know another thing I'm terrible at?
Please.
And I've gotten better about it. But and this is a big one because this is a lot like balance. And that was it's very hard for me to pull the trigger. So when I'm in a position where I know I can do the sweep, or I know I can get the takedown, or I know I can hit the sub, I have a hard time pulling the trigger.
Okay. What? Just because, is this a guilt thing? And you're I know I can do this, but It's really weird. It's like when, and it was something that I suffered from, especially in mixed martial arts. So when I was fighting in my amateur careers, is that my skill sets and my practice told me that I could do this no problem. Okay.
You can do these things and it's effective and you're good at it, right? Good enough that you can compete at a certain level, right? But when it came time to do it, and it wasn't nerves, it wasn't it was just weird that I just felt I hesitate, you're not pulling the trigger on it. And when you hesitate, then that position's lost, right? Yeah. So that happened, right? And I remember again another specific black belt who will go unnamed, who at the time, I think I was a blue belt at the time, and I was competing, and they were watching my match, and or at least one match, but they'd seen me do this before as well, and they're like, "Look, man, you're getting to these positions. I can see that you can hit this. Why are you not pulling the trigger?"
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't understand. And so, but now that I'm conscious of it, it's something that and again, just that piece of advice or just that curiosity about it was, they're you just have to trust that you can do this.
Right.
And
what's also, why not?
Why wouldn't, right? Everybody else is pulling the trigger.
Yeah,
why don't you pull the trigger?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right.
But that's all. I think I talk about this with Dom actually all the time about we are always we're always better at giving advice than we are taking even our own advice.
Yeah.
We give great advice, and it's also whoops, our credit card's overdrafted.
Right.
Whoopsie.
Well, you know what? That's the same thing as when you're coaching a competition. It's easy for me to look at it from my perspective and say, you should do this, this, and this. But it's much more difficult for you to see that when you're down there, right?
Yeah.
So,
and also what personal what setbacks they actually may have as well, because it may be the same thing.
Not least of which is I don't have the stress of being in that position now.
I was gonna say, you just get up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of
pressure.
I was gonna say, you also perform in a band. You play music in front of people, and you have a lot of your life as well. Did you ever have anything like that where you weren't able to, because I was going to say maybe it's a thing, and speaking of competition stuff, maybe it's a performance thing, not an ED thing, but a performance in on the mats. But if you ever had a hesitation, because in competition that might be also maybe nerves play into it, it's a nerve issue, not necessarily a
it's an interesting question. I mean, I think
it's a mental block,
right? And I think that and you're right, to your point, a lot of these other avenues in my life where I spend a great deal of time in front of other people, and that includes teaching, for instance,
yes.
For jiu-jitsu, but also presenting work for my business when I'm a graphic designer, and remembering that these are all very vulnerable positions. I'm making artwork and I'm putting it in front of somebody to criticize it, and I don't have those anxieties. I'm very confident in those scenarios that this is it, and this is how it works, and and I'm okay if you don't like it. I'm not like defeated, and I feel confident the next day to go and do it again, like over and over and over. And same thing with music, like no problem. Like I know my bass. I know I can play this song, and I feel great about it, and I feel great playing music with my bandmate, and like and I know that it's going to be a great show. I don't worry.
Yeah.
I don't have any performance anxiety in that respect. In jiu-jitsu, like, I don't know where it stemmed from. I think it stemmed from my mixed martial arts career. I really do. I think it stemmed from where people were able to turn off that part of their brain that said, like, this could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? And then have that like killer instinct. And I just never really had it. However, I have found that instead of in place of like a killer instinct was my focus and belief that what I'm doing will work, and then just go in that direction, not worry about the other person, just do the thing.
Yeah, just stick to your plan.
Right. In which case, like, now I've proven to myself, but again, the reason I say I suck at it is because like I still struggle with it.
Wow.
I still get on the struggle bus when it comes to like pulling the trigger, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've got the position, just go do it, right? Versus then figuring out that you have to do it like 3 moves ago, right? And I'm like,
Right. Yeah, I think that's just in general, like it's just a thing where you're not having the confidence in, not necessarily even just your skill, but just just having that mental block is something that's so detrimental to anybody. And even still, to say like you still feel like, oh yeah, I still have this issue.
Sure, right. And I think it'll be with me forever. Like, I don't think it's something that'll go away, but I do think that it's something that can be managed, right? And so, like, again, shit that I'm
most
terrible
of our bad habits,
Oh, good one. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, that, like my personal one would be impulse control for sure. Like I was saying earlier. Like, if there's any kind of, and not with like alcohol necessarily, like I have no real, like, that's probably the one thing that I don't have an issue with. Eating,
everything else is on the table.
Eating, sure. Like weed, weed is one of those things that I truly do like I may get to a point where I feel like it is more like pick it up, just kind of like
you're habitually
but now it gets to a point where now I have control. I'm able to get that back under control a lot easier. But if there's like sugar, like ice cream or cookies or any kind of that stuff, it's like I told somebody earlier, I have I invented lunch dessert.
Because
like, I ate lunch, gotta have dessert
right for lunch, right?
A bowl of ice cream, sure. Bowls of ice cream, nope, just for me. Okay, I'll eat yours.
Right, you're not gonna eat that.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy. It's crazy, and I could be in the middle of it, but luckily I don't do heroin or any other hard drugs. I don't,
Yet.
So yeah, exactly. But that I don't want. I'm not trying them.
Right.
Because that's the thing where it's in any aspect of life, that's a personal struggle that I have, but very rarely with jiu-jitsu. But even with jiu-jitsu, early on, I got so addicted to it. I wanted to do it every day, got it injured, infections, stinky geese. You live and you learn. And then you go really to a 3-day week schedule.
Right.
Unless you're Jeff.
But I think, then you're on a 6-day a week schedule. But here's the thing, though. I mean, for those that know me, who roll with me on a regular basis and so forth, if you don't know that I suffer from these, like these deficiencies, because you're like, I've never seen that, right? Well, that's a good thing. One of the other things, too, to remember is that, and this is true when we have people that are going to compete, and I say this all the time, is that you're going to go out there and you're going to clap hands and you're going to think to yourself, oh my God, I am the weakest person on this mat. Like, there's nobody weaker than me. And this guy is so freaking strong.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is the other guy's thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? So you may look at a room full of jiu-jitsu practitioners and you'll be like, I am the worst person here. I suck at all these things, right? And look how good all these people are. And as you acquire skill and knowledge and you become more acclimated, you're still going to have those practitioners where you look at them like, I just don't understand how they're so good, and I'm so terrible. But chances are they look at you and think, they're so good at these positions, and why am I so what I mean? Like,
look at the belt. Look at his belt.
Yeah.
So tattered.
It's so tattered, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's likely that like everybody is thinking the same thing, right? Like, And so instead of worrying about like what you're bad at and putting it off like I've done, work on it.
Yeah.
Because it may be harder because you have other like things that other mental humps that you're trying to get over, in order to access the knowledge on the other side. And it may be something that you'll never be great at, right? Yeah. That's okay. But if you have like the technical proficiency and then the execution, like the mindset that says I can just go do this thing, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have that in your toolkit.
Yeah.
So
and like I said before,
lean into it is what I'm saying.
Take your own advice too, Jeff.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
What you just said, I'm gonna play that back for you.
Okay.
And you do it too.
Okay, I will. Oh, you know what we should talk about?
What?
Is Gordon Ryan really back on his PEDs and ripped up, or have you guys seen? You guys have all like heard this. What's happening in the world of jiu-jitsu today is just I have like an inquiry and about Gordon Ryan, and now we all know that he suffers from some form of stomach issue, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Is it the same? Is it like diverticulitis or any of those things?
It could be, but I have no idea.
Do you think that's stemming from possible alleged PED use?
Alleged PED. He's fully admitted that he uses performance-enhancing drugs. To what degree and what they are, I do not know. We do obviously see his physical changes, but then there was a post that was up where he was like completely like skinny fat and not feeling great and not able to compete.
He looked meek.
And then recently people have been posting new pictures, which I assume are photoshopped, of him being like ripped again and back to his normal self.
So I got the before and after here.
Yeah, here we go.
But I don't have the current. What was the? I guess it would be in news, right?
Yeah, possibly.
Gordon Ryan, PEDs.
We'll bring him up here.
Oh. There's him before. Yeah, I feel like this is he's definitely not natural, but he's definitely, I don't know if that because I think that might be down now.
Yeah.
I tried to find that too. Is this it?
No.
Because I tried to find that same pic. I saw that earlier as well.
I like this. Gordon Ryan recovers from debilitating tummy ache.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of people that would say stuff to him online, but not say it to him in person.
Right. Oh, your debilitating tummy ache.
But
I legitimately think that he's like, I think that his, whatever he's suffering with is detrimental. Like it's not, and is he on some sort of performance enhancing drugs? Yes, he admits it.
Yeah.
He admits that he does it. I don't think that changes like his level of skill by any means, by the way. I think his knowledge and understanding of jiu-jitsu is probably unmatched in a lot of ways, especially in nogi.
Yeah. Gordon Ryan shows off incredible body transformation weeks after fighting severe throat infection. So this was not
this is the antibiotic one. That's right. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, listeners. He had a throat infection. It was a what the hell is
is it here?
It should be here.
Packed muscle after uncharacteristically scrawny during his...
Strep. It was strep. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's strep throat. So, by the way, guys, here's something that you may not know. If you don't have kids, you may not know, but strep is wicked, man.
Yeah.
It can really wreck you.
So I kind of joked about having strep the other day.
Yeah.
Not too long ago. And I didn't realize, it's that serious.
It can be, yeah. But if left untreated, it gets out of hand.
So is this a situation where he wasn't able to do it because he was on antibiotics, or it was
so he was on a massive amount of antibiotics, and I think one of the problems was that it did affect his gut health then as well, and it created a problem for him in a lot of other ways. Hard to say specifically. Everybody reacts differently, and it's a lot of other things. What the funniest part about this, though, if you scroll back up to like Gordon's after picture, like how many people would be like, I wish I looked like Gordon Ryan just like this.
I was gonna say, what's wrong with this? I was kind of like, which one? I obviously know the one that he's all juiced up in. Well, it's not here. Where's the? I guess we had the before and after picture. Oh, this was the one. This was the one I was trying to find earlier. This was something about him being. This was recently, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay.
But he. Like you said, he's admitted to using PEDs, done all this stuff. But like, why is this not a heavyweight jiu-jitsu practitioner? Like, why?
Right.
Why wouldn't this be Why can't he just lift still and do? But is it the recovery and the muscles and all that other stuff are just kind of an added feature because of his regime, his regimen? That's how little I know about fitness. You know that dictatorship of fitness he has.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, like I say, I've never been on any type of gear, so I don't know. I don't know what like happens, and I've never been. I mean, I know people that have done it. I don't get into like the weeds about like whether or not they're how this works or any of these other things. But the question I had was, is he actually back, or is this just like, or is this made up bullshit pictures of things that he's had done before?
This was the photo that I saw. This was the one here.
Right.
Where he looks like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is current or not. This is the one that I was trying to
or if it's even real for that matter.
I don't think so. I think this is an older picture somebody repurposed. Because I saw it on like Reddit or some shit.
Yeah, which of course is not notorious for.
I don't believe anything. I get my news exclusively from Twitter accounts that I do not follow.
Yeah, that's smart.
And I get all my jiu-jitsu news from Reddit, which I do not believe most of it.
Great, perfect. Yeah, I mean, at least you're consistent.
Yeah.
So I would say this, like, regardless, I mean, whether you love him or hate him, I don't really care. I do hope that he gets a speedy recovery, but not least of which is I will say this: is that like the world of jiu-jitsu is not a better place without Gordon.
No, it's like everybody like busts his balls and everything like that, but that's because he is the king of fucking grappling.
Yeah,
he is
and
like,
shit talking.
Yeah, and he's great at it. Like, but also he's like I just don't understand. I don't understand why he uses them. Unless because of the fact that everybody else uses them. It's kind of like a...
Probably evening the playing field.
Then if everybody uses them, then nobody's using them.
Yeah. Like, I mean, my basic understanding of performance-enhancing drugs, so we used to call them steroids, right? Like you're on steroids. But I think it's a far more complicated system than that. Is that my general feeling on this, and this is not an issue that we were going to talk about as far as a main topic or anything, but really when, again, and I've said this before in the podcast, is that when you have high-level athletes and the demand on their body is so great that it requires them to take performance-enhancing drugs for those specific purposes, for recovery, for endurance, for growth, like for these, because you're asking them to train like this and to perform like this so often that it would not be sustainable otherwise.
Yeah. So that, I mean, it's like, it's a self-fulfilling kind of thing. Like it has to be that way because either as soon as one person starts using it, everybody has to use it because you have to try to. Like
sure. And I mean, there's clear benefits to it, right? I mean,
but
you
can
think
look. This is leading to all of his sicknesses.
It's possible, right? I mean,
he has taken a lot of time for as much as awesome he looks in his fucking Instagram. He has competed a handful of times in the past couple of years because not just the pandemic shit. But there was a delay because of the thing, then a sickness, then another sickness, then a surgery, now strep, and all these other things that are and it's in where he would call them a setback because he is off the juice for 2 weeks and he goes,
he deflates like a balloon.
You know what I mean? Like he almost has stretch marks from his muscles. So if you're gonna get that big and why not think consistency as the greatest of all time? Because now he's in everybody's head.
Of course.
Now would be the time to get off the juice and try to go on the Nate Diaz diet. Just eat more healthy, bro.
Yeah.
Smoke more weed, dude.
Smoke more weed, yeah. Right. And again, it's funny because Gordon Ryan's physique, just in terms of his physical appearance, is not indicative of most fighters that I see, or have witnessed throughout. They are more like Nate Diaz, which is arguably a bad motherfucker.
If I am to body shame Gordon Ryan, it is at his what he would consider his pinnacle or his tippy top. I would say what we just saw of him, a regular looking dude.
Right.
Not even a regular looking dude.
No, he looks
like an MMA fighter.
Yeah, he still looks like a guy that
and
works out.
That's how I feel like we should end this is like, do you think that the strictness of PEDs in MMA and UFC and stuff like that is what would keep him out of MMA ultimately, or just the actual combat? No.
I don't think it'll be the combat at all. I think it would be definitely the fact that he cannot, you can't, because of the regulations and because of the rules, he cannot be on any type of gear. He just can't.
Oh, actually, one last question.
And they're going to be after him, too. Like, as soon as he steps in there, they're going to be like...
Yeah, they're going to be on him.
Unless...
80 tests a day.
Unless there's a lot of money to be made, in which case they're like, everything came out fine.
Yeah, just go in the bathroom and come out with a full cup.
Yeah,
That's
he's
all you
totally
have to
natural.
But, okay, last question.
Sure.
Do you think I should get on PEDs?
Yes, of course. I think everybody should get on some gear.
Asked and answered. I like calling it gear, by the way.
So do I.
I thought that was what, like, heroin users have their rig with. Oh, that's rig.
That's their rig, right.
Also,
you should also be a heroin addict, too. Why not?
Hey, those are the things. Those are my blind spots. I got to get better at it.
You know what time it is?
What?
Time to ask a black belt.
Our first round of listener questions coming up.
Okay, first round of listener questions, and I am available for all questions, regardless if they're jiu-jitsu related.
This is from Ben.
Ben asks a question.
It's actually a two-parter, Jeff.
Okay.
I hope you're okay with that.
I'm all right with it.
He asks...
Well, I haven't heard the question yet.
Well, it's two.
Okay.
Where do babies come from? And how?
Oh.
And he did add, use personal experience if necessary.
Okay, Ben. If there's nothing stopping the male genitalia from fertilizing the female's egg, which is inside of their...
We're also signing this for
fallopian
the
tubes.
Impaired.
It's inside their uterus. It gets released from the fallopian tube. If there's nothing stopping that from
like
happening...
female balls.
And that would be like...
female
balls.
They're on the inside.
Yeah. Makes me never want to think about female anatomy again. Thank you, Pat.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, but which, by the way, I was very fond of until just now.
Ask a black belt.
So here's how, Ben. In all seriousness, here's how this works. Okay, so typically, and we'll just speak from a heterosexual standpoint, right? So we've got a man and a woman.
Got it.
Their organs are designed for reproduction. Okay, that's just a natural consequence of being alive, of being a human being.
Right.
Okay. There has to be most of the time, some level of attraction with the two of you. Okay, I
would hope so.
Yeah, you find each other attractive.
Personal connection, some kind of future.
Specifically wanting to see each other naked.
Right.
There comes a time in your life before all that in which you hit this thing called puberty.
Yes.
All right, and this is when your sexual organs become activated, if you will.
A little fuzz on the peach.
You get a little fuzz on the peach. Okay, you might notice things like having erections.
Yeah.
Okay, that's when your dick gets hard.
Yeah, that's the peach.
Yeah.
What did you think I was talking
So
about?
when that happens, you may also find that you do things like, I don't know, masturbate.
There's also...
that feels pretty good.
Nocturnal emissions, which I haven't personally experienced, but I hear...
I've never had a nocturnal emission.
Are the bee's knees.
I hope you appreciate that at this juncture, I'm trying to make this as uncomfortable as possible.
I like how clinical it is.
Well, thank you. Okay.
I feel like I'm actually learning
These are natural feelings, by the way. Masturbation, nocturnal emissions, erections. And I'm only speaking from a male standpoint because, as it turns out, I am not a female.
This is our experience. This is our perspective as males.
He actually asked me to use my own experience if that was...
If applicable.
And it is applicable. Because you know why? Because I will tell you, I don't know spoilers, but sort of a spoiler. I have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Jeff leaves it in. Okay.
So Jeff lays pipe. Okay. So listen, this is how it works. Then you find this suitable partner for reproduction. Okay. You will experience an erection. Okay. You will insert the erection into...
How'd you do that?
Yeah, it should go this way.
Yeah.
No, there should not be any hacking. Do not hack.
What's going to come out of the underwear?
Guys, look, we could do a whole episode on how to treat your partner.
Yeah, we're going to give a play-by-play. Actually, let me bring up the play.
This won't be the time for that because we're answering this question.
We'll have 3D models. Well, actually, one whole class will be dedicated. Before takedowns, we'll do a whole...
Yeah.
A play. Let's just call it a play.
We'll call it a play.
For legal reasons.
We're doing a play.
We'll call it a play.
Okay. So at any rate, you will insert the erect penis into the vagina.
Yep.
Okay. You will likely thrust that erection multiple times until ejaculation.
Right. And it'll be about that long, that many?
It'll be about 7 to 10 seconds. Okay? Yes. Your ejaculate has sperm inside of it.
Google sea cucumber if we're doing safe for work. Google sea cucumber.
Okay, good.
Kind of like that.
Right. So your ejaculate has sperm, which is the fertilization of the female egg.
Little human tadpoles.
If your female or you are not doing anything in the way of contraception, that means you're trying to stop pregnancy.
Right.
There is a time in which during the female's biological calendar, right? For every month.
I'm doing the models.
in which their fallopian tube will release an egg. And if you inseminate your partner during that time period, there is an increased chance of pregnancy.
Fertilization. I love fertilization.
Now, when I'm talking about fertilization, I'm speaking specifically upon the time in which your female partner becomes pregnant. And from there, inside of the uterus, a fetus is formed. And over the next 9 months, that fetus will grow into a human child.
Yep.
Now, you didn't ask me about delivery, so we won't get into that.
This is just strictly how they're made.
This is strictly how they're made. And that, Ben, as I close the book, is how babies are made.
And then the police officer, Mr. Beck, can you please stand up?
Yeah.
Okie doke. Shouldn't have done it in preschool. Sorry about that. But no, it's funny because Ben actually has a kid, so I don't know why he...
Well, I think maybe he just missed out on these opportunities to learn. Like, who knows? I mean,
next question from Casey.
Oh, from Casey.
I know, these are real people.
Yeah, Casey's got a question.
Do you prefer an empty stomach before you roll on the mat?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
this is the definitive answer, Casey. Yeah. I do not like to put food in my stomach before I roll, and sometimes, especially when I trained at night, mostly, like I have always been like a bit early morning.
That's tough, yeah.
Always been an early morning guy. I love to train in the mornings. Started at Harrisburg Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo. They weren't offering a morning class at that time because I fucking started that. So at any rate, we trained at night all the time.
Right.
And it is really hard, guys. Really hard to resist my wife's spaghetti if she makes it before it's time to train. And let me tell you, there were regrets.
Shout out to Jeff's wife's spaghetti.
Yeah, every time I eat it, I'm like, I got to eat more of this. And then I go train, and I am full of spaghetti and regret.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I can't imagine the burps. Yeah. Oh, dear.
Yeah, so I actually do legitimately resist eating anything before I train. I like to fight on an empty stomach.
Nice. Yeah. You were just talking about that. I feel like you were talking about your protein get-together. Jamboree that you have.
Yeah, protein jamboree.
When I was talking about marshmallows on the last one, that was a Freudian slip. I'd oftentimes talk about mushrooms. But Jeff, I think there's only one last question.
Boy, I mean, I can't believe we have like 3 questions today. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the last one is what's
on your turntable? So Langhorne Slim is on my turntable, and specifically the album "The Way We Move." Okay, and this was inspired by a skateboarding video that I watched a couple months ago or whatever, and I just really loved the soundtrack to it because I also have a playlist that's operating right now where I'm collecting all the songs that I love from my favorite skate videos and putting them into a playlist, and at any rate, so, I mean, I'm sure there were people that were well familiar with Langhorne, but I was not, and so, like, I got turned on to him, and I just love his stuff. It's folk, country, and blues, kind of like, I would say Americana, like rock and roll style.
Okay.
It's very roots-oriented music, and it's just really good. Yeah.
What do you like to do most when you're listening to it? Like, when do you like to listen to it most?
Wow, great question. So the time I like to listen to it most is in the car. Okay. And but my daughter, my youngest daughter, really likes it too, and her favorite time to listen to it is all day, every day.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
So much to the extent that I was like, okay, I got to stop listening to it now because I need to just take a break because I hear it all the time.
I love listening to music that Dom also likes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's cool when she sings along to songs that I've introduced her to or bands that I've introduced her to.
Yeah,
it's really cool that when she enjoys. Like I love the fact that she genuinely, and she's not doing it just for me.
Yeah,
she genuinely likes Gwar.
Yeah,
I don't know if she always listens to them on her own.
Sure, but genuinely likes them when they come on.
She sings along with us. She enjoys it. It's cool that I was able to do, and that I'm sure that's cool with you too to be like what especially that she loves it.
Yo, she loves it.
Even if she gets sick of it, at some point she'll revisit it and be like,
of course. It'll be part of her childhood now, right? Yeah. Like, that's like, that's kind of the shit that happens with me. And like, I hear something like nostalgic, but it's not because it's just nostalgia. It's because I genuinely liked it.
Yeah.
And then I'm reminded of like, especially with like Motown and things like that, it's, some of the, and soul music and stuff I just really love. And it's because like, my folks listen to it. My mom in particular loved Motown music and continues to love Motown music, but I too love it.
And it's something that proves a point that I love. Like that truly good art is absolutely timeless.
Of course,
doesn't matter. Like like I said, I still love I just love going to museums and just looking at fucking paintings.
Yeah,
and just feeling,
and it still works, right?
It still works perfectly. And I love also the fact that I'm looking at it completely differently than somebody 600 years, however old the painting is. That somebody else was looking at it and just being like, man, this is for a completely different set of reasons.
That's right.
And it's still remarkable. It's truly ageless. Like, I love art like that.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's a really cool perspective. So what's on your turntable?
Man, I had a whole other band that I was talking about, that I was thinking about, but I feel like one that I feel like I missed in the first round.
Okay.
Of life of music fandom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This was somebody that was current when I was red hot into music. Like, loving going to shows almost every week.
Yeah.
Playing in bands.
Yeah.
Listening to music nonstop. Like, there was no podcast. There's no audiobooks.
No.
Maybe some more.
You were having unprotected sex like crazy.
I was
You're making babies
in everything. Everywhere. Babies were being created. I don't. I think I was most of it. I was still probably totally a virgin.
Yeah.
But a band that I missed, but I rediscovered and I've really digging is Meshuggah.
I'm not familiar.
Meshuggah is a band that speaking of heart rates, we were talking about heart rates at the beginning of the show. Your blood pressure.
Yeah.
I recently purchased an Apple Watch. Not trying to show off. But I do okay. It has a heartbeat sensor. I'm actually trying to do it to be like, I want to monitor that. I want to track my sleep. Try to be a little bit better about that stuff. And this is a band that actively, when I'm listening to it and I'm driving, it actually affects my heart rate. There's something about the.
I know this feeling. Yes.
Their time signature, and it's not even one of those situations where those songs you listen to and you like naturally speed because you're fucking like it has a physical effect on you.
It gives you a response. Yeah,
and involuntary. Like, I'm not even thinking about it. It's like it's happening when I'm not even. So I not only does it rules music wise. I love how it sounds. But it's also very interesting time measures. And there's another band, just a quick shout out, another band that I've loved all my life, my music life, Refused.
Yeah, of course.
And I've always said famously, there's no band in the world that I can think of that is like Refused. I can't think of a band that says, what's Refused sound like? Oh, they're like...
Right.
I can't. There's nothing.
That record's the shape of punk to come, man. I mean, it wasn't like...
You can't say it's like this.
Yeah.
You know
it's
who they're kind of like? They're
Refused.
kind of like Meshuggah.
Meshuggah is like Refused.
And not only did they start, I believe, around the same year as Refused.
Okay.
But they started in the same fucking town in Sweden.
Wow.
Uma, Sweden, wherever they're...
Well, we got a place we got to go now.
UMEA. I truly do want to go there.
Do they have jiu-jitsu there?
They have to.
They don't.
They don't?
Going to.
Yeah,
I said
I'll
if
Google
they don't.
that next. Do they have jiu-jitsu in Uma, Sweden? But they... both bands come from this particular town in Sweden, and both of them not only have... I mean, they sound similar, but they are not similar.
Sure, okay.
But they reminded me of Refused, and before I even looked them up, I had that connection. I looked them up, and I said, holy shit, I was meant to love this band.
Right.
So, Meshuggah, you've probably heard one of their most popular songs. It's called Bleed, and it almost has the same time signature as a running motorcycle. Oh, also, welcome Carmela Soprano to the family. She is a kitty cat that's never been featured on camera on 6 a.m., but now...
Well, we've just... Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
So, welcome, Carmela.
But yeah, I would highly suggest the song "Bleed" by Meshuggah. You've probably already heard it and love it. And if you have an Apple Watch, just see if it's so crazy that I don't know if it's the time signatures or if it's just the energy of the song. It affects it spikes my heart rate.
Yeah,
it's almost like exercise.
Yeah, awesome.
Listen to Meshuggah.
All right. Excellent.
Hell yeah.
Excellent. Well, that'll wrap up this episode, man.
Yeah. How do you feel about it, Carmela? Is that okay?
I think she feels okay about it.
Yeah.
I actually feel I was not feeling great about it until I was able to talk to Ben one-on-one about how babies were made. And you know what? I feel complete.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of questions were asked and a lot of questions were answered.
I feel the same way.
And a lot of mysteries solved.
A lot of mysteries. So this will wrap it up for the 6 a.m. True Crime podcast.
Go out there and make some babies.
Yeah, make babies.